everyone, Andrew here, and this is going to be another Top 3 Tuesday response video, and this week's question was asked by ClassicMetalFan22, and his question is, what are the top 3 games that you would use to convince someone to buy a console, or something like that? I don't know, it's a really good question, but I always have a lot of trouble kind of saying it. So it's kind of like, if I were to go up to someone and say, hey, you should get an NES, and then they said, well, what games does it have? These are kind of like the top 3 games that I would show them to kind of convince them that the NES is an awesome console. I did not choose to do the NES, though, for this question. Originally, I was going to, because, I mean, I love the NES, but then I realized I love too many games for it. I mean, I have 655 games, and there are quite a few that, I mean, I, like, really, really like. They're, like, right at the top. So, I mean, there was no way I could condense that down to just the top 3 to suggest to someone, especially since there's so many different genres and stuff like that. I mean, I just could not get that down there. But then it came to me, I got a really awesome idea for which console I should do. Now, it's, by the time I upload this, like, 4 other people will probably have done it, so it's not going to seem unique in the slightest. But the console that I chose to do, it's funny because, I mean, this could actually work for a lot of people. I mean, if I did the NES or something like that, a lot of people already have the NES. So, I mean, my video would have just been, like, theoretical. I mean, it wouldn't have been actually convincing anyone to get an NES because of these certain games. But not everyone has a Virtual Boy. Now, I mean, some people's first reactions will be, the Virtual Boy, that thing's a piece of garbage. It doesn't have any good games. And that's what I'm hoping this video will do, is convince you that the Virtual Boy actually can have some decent games on it. And it can be fun to play, as long as it's not giving you a headache or something like that. I mean, obviously not all of the games for the Virtual Boy are good. I mean, there's Water World, which is absolutely terrible. I mean, there's other things too. I mean, I'm not saying the Virtual Boy actually has all good games, and there's just been this massive misconception all this time. But I was able to create a list quite easily of 3 games that are actually really decent for the Virtual Boy that might actually be able to convince you to try them out. Of course, there's going to be no gameplay. So I'd suggest that you go and look up some gameplay for these videos, for these games, if they interest you. And the funny part is that there's actually a tie for number 3. Like, so I mean, there's more than just 3 good games for the Virtual Boy. I mean, that's the big misconception. I mean, it didn't do well because it was expensive, and the whole, like, kids under 8 couldn't play it. It was the 3D thing. Even though I went to, like, Toys R Us every day and played the demo they had set up when I was like 4 years old. Hasn't hurt me yet, I don't think. But I mean, the Virtual Boy can have some decent games. I mean, of course, overall, the library wasn't good, and they didn't have enough time to get any too much third-party support. But yeah, hopefully, after watching this, you will see that the Virtual Boy does have a few good games. So, without further ado, let's get started with number 3, which actually has a tie for 2 games. And the first one, actually I'll start with this one, is Vertical Force. Of course, the Virtual Boy games are kind of small, so they might not show up too well on the camera. This one I actually have the box for, but this is actually the Japanese box. You can tell because all of the North American Virtual Boy games, they kind of did this thing where, like, it was half red and half blue on the cartridge sticker and also on the block, kind of to you know, represent the old-fashioned 3D where you'd have the glasses and one side would be red and one side would be blue. But the Japanese games weren't like that. They just had completely original pictures, which actually look a lot nicer than the North American box art. But anyway, yeah, Vertical Force. Anyone who's been watching my videos for a long time will know I'm a really big fan of scrolling arcade shooters, or shmups. And Vertical Force is actually a really good one for the Virtual Boy. It takes advantage of the Virtual Boy's 3D-ness, or whatever you'd call it, by the action kind of takes place in 2 layers. You have the foreground, and then if you press a button, you can actually go into the background to either avoid, like, enemies coming at you, or sometimes obstacles that will be in your way that you have to go behind, or else you'll hit and blow up. So Vertical Force is actually a really neat arcade shooter for the Virtual Boy, and has some pretty good music too, and it's a lot of fun. So that's one good game for the Virtual Boy that some people might not even know exists. The other thing that's tied for number 3 is Jack Brothers, and this is an interesting game. It's kind of like your run-and-gun arcade shooter. So it's not like a scrolling one, but it's kind of where you move around at your own free will, and you kind of have to try to find, like, the end of the level or something like that. Those who watched my Pocky and Rocky video, it's kind of like that, the way you move around, you shoot enemies and stuff, but of course the point's different. In this game, what you want to do is you try to find the end of each floor so that you can progress on to the next one, and you'll find bosses and other neat things along the way. It's a pretty cool game. The name Jack Bros, it kind of has a horror theme. I don't remember all the characters. You have, like, Jack the Ripper, and I don't know, there's 3 different characters you can play as, and I'm pretty sure they all have the word Jack in their name, I think. Anyway, it's a weird game, which is why a lot of people probably overlook it, but it actually is a lot of fun. Not too easy to get your hands on, I don't think. But it's worth it if you can pick it up. Because, yeah, I know I'm talking about the Virtual Boy, and I'm sure it's not going to be just easy. Like, people say, oh, I like that, so they're going to go online and buy a Virtual Boy and buy these games. The funny thing is that's actually exactly what I did. I really wanted to play number 1 on this list so bad. This is actually a game from one of my favorite series, and it's often considered to be the number 1 best Virtual Boy game out there, so a lot of people probably know what it is already. But I really wanted to play this game, so I actually went and bought a Virtual Boy and this game just because I wanted to play it so bad, and this is back like 6 years ago. The funny thing is, back then, Virtual Boys were actually a lot cheaper. I got my main Virtual Boy unit complete with the controller and battery pack, and 6 games for $60 plus shipping, which, I mean, it's going to be a few bucks for shipping since it's a kind of big unit. But I mean, the price of Virtual Boy and stuff has gone way up since then. I mean, I pretty much collected all my Virtual Boy stuff off eBay back when it wasn't too hard to get games for like 10 to 20 bucks, but now I know some Virtual Boy games you're paying like 50 for, and back then it used to be like 10 bucks. So it's unfortunate that the prices of these things have gone up. And I know I don't usually see Virtual Boy stuff at thrift stores, but hopefully if you'll be able to get a deal at some point or something on eBay if you do like these things that you see. But anyway, yeah, those are that's number 3. Vertical Force and Jack Brothers for Virtual Boy. They're both very good games. Just you never hear about them, as unfortunately the negative points about the Virtual Boy kind of overshadow the few positive ones that it does have. Anyway, number 2. My number 2 game that I would suggest to someone if they're getting a Virtual Boy, and I'd say you should really get this game because it's pretty decent, is 3D Tetris, or Tetris 3D. I'm pretty sure it's 3D Tetris as you read it from the top down. Although, I always have the urge to call it Tetris 3D for whatever reason. Very interesting and unique game. It's obviously not like your normal Tetris, and it's not like Tetris Spear for Nintendo 64. In this game, you have a 5x5x5 3D kind of cube, and then the blocks fall into this cube, and you can place them in like 3 dimensions. And then the point is obviously to get a line, a 5x5 line, vertically and horizontally. And then, so basically that's your line instead of just the, horizontal as if it were a 2D Tetris. You have to get kind of like a whole 5x5 line in this 5x5x5 cube. And it's really interesting, but it's not even just the normal gameplay that really made this game for me. It's because this game has a puzzle mode in it. And there's 20 levels, and what this puzzle mode is so basically, yeah, you work your way through the 20 levels. And when you start the level, it will show you like a block setup. So it will usually be things like, it will be like a chair or a dog made out of the Tetris blocks inside this 5x5x5 cube. And then what you have to do is you have to take the blocks that it gives you after it just shows you the initial picture and figure out how you need to place them to make the picture that it showed you at the beginning. So I really enjoyed that. I mean, I'm sure my explanation of it sucks, but I mean, it's just so much fun because you have to kind of think. Like, it's a lot of puzzle solving and stuff like that. I mean, I love puzzles. So you kind of have to think as the blocks are flying, okay, where will I need to place this one? And then you look at what block is coming next, and okay, so if I place that one here, this will kind of set up that part of what it initially showed me. And then eventually you get it's set up, and you just feel awesome because, I mean, you were able to recreate the picture it showed you at the beginning, and it's all Tetris style, so I mean, all the blocks are falling. And it's not just your normal shaped Tetris blocks, too. That's not just your T's and your long vertical ones. There's a few other random shapes thrown in there too to make things more interesting. But overall, I love that puzzle mode, and it just made it so much fun. The music was good too. I mean, anything with good music automatically makes it 10 times more awesome. But I mean, I just love that puzzle mode, and the way that you had to do it. It was just so much fun, and I'm sure that no one understood what I was trying to say when I just said all that. But hopefully there's videos of it on YouTube. I don't think that Virtual Boy videos are too common, really. But yeah, anyway, check that out. So anyway, 3D Tetris was my number 2 game I would suggest to someone if they were getting a Virtual Boy. It's a lot more exciting than I probably made it sound. But an honorable mention, this isn't number 1, is V-Tetris. Yeah, the Virtual Boy actually had 2 Tetris games. I mean, it has like, what, 21 games, and 2 of them are Tetris. This one isn't 3D, though. This is more your traditional Tetris. I don't know if you can see the back. V-Tetris was actually exclusive to Japan, and I believe 3D Tetris is actually exclusive to North America. But yeah, V-Tetris, definitely more your traditional kind of Tetris. It's a lot like NES Tetris, actually, just the way it works. I mean, every Tetris is like NES Tetris, really, unless it's 3D. But I mean, the music's good. There's a few different gameplay modes, and it is quite fun. It's a neat game to have for the Virtual Boy, but yeah. Yeah, I would get that if you saw. I remember Virtual Tetris. You used to be able to get it boxed on eBay for like $20 sealed. I guess someone had like a whole warehouse full of them back 6 years ago. It is too bad how much the prices of Virtual Boy stuff has gone up. Because I mean, I guess all the collectors kind of hoarded it now. Kind of like Earthbound. It's so rare because I mean, there's just none out there. Everyone has them hoarded in their collection. Looking at you, edt1138 now. Anyway. Yeah, enough about that. Number one. The number one game I would suggest to someone who is thinking about getting a Virtual Boy, or if I was trying to tell them that they should get a Virtual Boy, and this should be obvious to anyone who knows anything about the Virtual Boy, and everyone who knows anything about me is going to know, of course, he would love that game as soon as he sees it, as soon as you guys see it, and that is Virtual Boy Wario Land. This game is amazing. I am a huge fan of the Wario Land series. There has never been a Wario Land game that I did not love, and I did not get 110% in. I don't know if there's any other series out there where I can say I've actually gotten every single possible thing you can in a game. I mean, Wario Land 1, all the treasures, as much money as you can get to get the best ending. Wario Land 2, all the treasures, beat the secret level. Wario Land 3, all the treasures, all the music note coins, which no one does to unlock the secret minigame at the end. I actually did that. Wario Land 4, all the treasures, all the CDs, and gold crowns on every level in very hard mode, which you don't even unlock till after you beat the game on hard mode. So I mean, I completely destroyed that. And then Wario Land Shake It for the Wii, every single treasure, every mission completed on every level to unlock every CD and all the sound test modes. And then Virtual Boy Wario Land, all the treasures, as much money as you can get for the best ending. I love Wario Land. I absolutely love Wario Land. And I had to get a Virtual Boy just because of Virtual Boy Wario Land. And it's a funny story, because Virtual Boy is actually one of the very first things I ever actually focused on collecting. As I mean, I got the Virtual Boy. It came with 6 games, one of which was Virtual Boy Wario Land. And then, I mean, there's only like 16 North American games, so I'm like, you know what? It could be fun to collect all the North American games. And then I did that, like I said, mostly through eBay. And I was kind of the beginning of my collecting career. I mean, it was just so much fun that I kept going. Obviously not just on eBay. I mean, I obviously started going to more thrift stores and stuff like that a little while after that. But yeah, Virtual Boy Wario Land, absolutely awesome platforming adventure, very fun, lots of treasure to find, great music. If you know anything about Wario Land, it's a lot like Wario Land 1, Super Mario Land 3 for the Game Boy, where actually Wario collects power-ups like the fire attack and like the Viking hat so he can break things easier. It's interesting, because I really like that kind of format that Wario Land 1 had, and then Virtual Boy Wario Land had. Then Wario Land 2 and 3 kind of made them an invincible, which was interesting, because it focused more on puzzle solving and stuff like that. But I definitely like the original style of it more. But luckily, Wario Land 4 and 5 have actually, Wario Land 4 and Shake It have actually made it so that there's like a health system. So you can't just go running your way through everything. There is some, you have to be a bit cautious, which I like. I mean, yeah, I really like the setup of Wario Land 1. And since Wario Land, Virtual Boy Wario Land followed that, I really needed to get it. And this was a game I played a lot as a kid. It was like I said, I only got my Virtual Boy collection about 6 years ago. Meanwhile, back when I was like 4 or 5, my parents took me to Toys R Us, like, very often to play the Virtual Boy that they had set up there. Because, I mean, they weren't going to buy one for me. Because, I mean, like, what was it, like $300 at the time? But yeah, I played Virtual Boy Wario Land so much. And, I mean, the funny thing was, because it was so long ago, I didn't remember much about it. So, I mean, I was so psyched to get that. I've played through that like 10 times. I love Virtual Boy Wario Land. Unfortunately, it's not the longest game, but it's incredible. And if you're getting a Virtual Boy, you have to get it, because it is just one of the best games ever. I mean, it's a stretch. I mean, you have to like the Wario Land games and be a platformer fan to think it's one of the best games ever. But I mean, I absolutely love Virtual Boy Wario Land. It's just an absolutely awesome game. And yeah, I believe that's everything I wanted to say for this video. So great question. Thanks for asking it. Really enjoyed answering it. And yeah, I believe we're just about to end off. As I'm sure everyone's probably noticed, if you've watched my other videos, that the background looks kind of different than it normally does. Cases are pretty much set up. There's actually a few more things we need to do. Obviously, to my left, I don't know what it's going to look like once it's on the camera. There's some things in that case that's definitely not how they're going to look when things are finally done. I'm just kind of putting a few things in there to make some room. Yeah, it's a mess, but things are getting done, and yeah, still going to be a bit more work, but the worst is probably over, and it's just going to be a lot of fun setting things up. Not all the shelves are set up yet. Like, these massive metal ones are, but all the Nintendo ones aren't yet. So I don't really know. Probably not going to start putting too much away till I have everything set up. That way I can kind of look at everything and say, okay, I want these things here and these things here, rather than kind of having to move things around as I go. But anyway, yeah, the metal ones are set up, and I just need to get to organizing them now. And yeah, hopefully it's not going to take too much longer. I apologize again for the lack of videos I've been uploading lately. Hopefully I will have a few more to come. I mean, I want to do a pickup video, but I'm sitting like a fold-out chair right now, and I have nowhere around me to put stuff. I mean, I have like just a little table set up for the Virtual Boy games. But yeah, I'm definitely going to show you guys all this at some point, and definitely hope to get back to my normal videos soon. Normal schedule. But anyway, I believe that's going to be it for this Top 3 Tuesday video response. So thanks again for the question, very good. And I hope everyone enjoyed watching this. And if you don't have a Virtual Boy, because you think it has no good games, there's a few right there. I mean, like I said, it only has like 16, I think it is. I didn't even count my collection before doing this video. North American releases, and then Virtual V Tetris was a Japanese only release. Not that hard to get your hands on though, considering it's actually a Japanese only release. So there are a few good games out there. So I mean, if you can get a Virtual Boy for cheap, it's definitely worth picking up these games, because they are a lot of fun. Despite the fact that people often think that the Virtual Boy, it's impossible for it to be fun. I mean, I know it's not really fun looking into here to have to play your games, especially since some people will complain that they get like headaches and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a lot of fun if you can get past that. So definitely look into this stuff. And I hope I've shown some people some things that they never knew existed and never knew were that great. So anyway, like the 5th time now, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And hope to see you next time, which hopefully won't be too long in the future, for something different. So thanks, and see you later.